Brad Stevens has done it once again, nabbing a massive steal in Xavier Tillman, and we've started to see his role expand with this Celtics roster in the last couple games. We're going to be diving in, looking at Xavier Tillman's stats so far with this Celtics squad, and kind of figuring out the role he's bringing for this team, and if he'll be here for the long term. We also got some exciting news as well as the Celtics can clinch a playoff spot tonight. All of that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz. But before we get in onto all of that Xavier Tillman jazz, 72% of our viewers are not subscribed, and would appreciate if you guys hit that big old red subscribe button down below. To the thousands of you who watch our videos every single day, want to make sure you stay up to date on daily Boston Celtics content and tune into our live streams post-game, this is the place for you. Hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's get ready to dive into all of this news, breaking down the Boston Celtics. Make sure to grab a snack as it is going to be a jam-packed episode. The first topic that we're going to be diving into is a playoff update. And like I mentioned in the introduction, the Boston Celtics have a chance of clinching a playoff spot tonight, which is absolutely crazy to think because the season doesn't end for another month and the Celtics could get that spot right away. If we want to look at this post from the NBA PR communications, we can see that there's a clinch scenario tonight. If Boston clinches a playoff spot, if they win, and Philadelphia loses. As you guys can see down below, the play-in tournament doesn't even start until the 16th through the 19th, and the playoffs don't start until April 20th. Therefore, we are still a month away from the play-in starting and a little bit longer than the playoffs starting, and the Celtics could nab that bid tonight. As we know, the Celtics have been in control of this Eastern Conference ever since the month of November. The 76ers had it for a little bit of a run, but obviously they've completely fallen off. The Celtics have maintained that control in the first place, the first team to 50 wins in the NBA. Sitting at 51-14, the Celtics are also trying to get to that 60-win mark before they hit the 20 losses, which would be a fantastic feat for Celtics fans to see. Like we all know, we are 9.5 games up from second place, and the Celtics have already clinched a play-in spot, marking the 10th seed. Therefore, if the Celtics do win tonight, they nab a top 6 seed, and the Sixers are playing the Milwaukee Bucks. So tonight, all Celtics fans are rooting for green. We're rooting for our Celtics to beat the Phoenix Suns to get a fantastic victory, but we're also rooting for the other green team, the Milwaukee Bucks, to beat the Philadelphia 76ers. Two kind of rivals, which is kind of funny that they got to play each other for the Celtics to make the playoffs. But if the Bucks win and the Celtics win, we have eventually clinched a top 6 spot in the Eastern Conference, which is absolutely fantastic to do this at this point of the year. Obviously, we all know the Celtics are going to make the playoffs, but it's just a crazy feat to see with a month still left to go into the season. The Celtics will have that locked up, and it may allow the Celtics to give them some little bit more rest. As we know with the Celtics tonight, Kristaps Porzingis has been dealing with a little bit of an injury, so we might see some more involvement. And that takes just to our next topic, which kind of talks about how you guys can tune in for these post-game live streams. Like I mentioned, we've been doing post-game live streams at the end of every single game. We thank everybody that has tuned out to them, but if you guys find that interesting or if that's something that you want to tune into, make sure to hit that subscribe button and to tune into that because we will have one breaking down the Phoenix Suns and Boston Celtics game tonight, giving our thoughts and reactions and your thoughts and reactions as well. If you missed one of those, you can check it out in the channel down below. I would greatly appreciate to see you there tonight. But like we mentioned, let's get to the meat and bones of this video today and discuss the main man, which is Xavier Tillman finding his role. And like I've mentioned in multiple videos, ever since Xavier Tillman has arrived in Boston, I think this is a steal for the Boston Celtics and Brad Stevens. With his contract being super cheap, being able to have his bird rights if he does excel, we can keep him long term, and for the fact that he already has a similar mold to one of the Celtics on this roster. Now, like we mentioned, when the Celtics traded for Xavier Tillman, we didn't know if he would be used, how much or what kind of usage he would get, but I truly thought he would find a role in the system, and he truly has, as you know, a backup 4, small ball 5-ish type role, which he kind of was playing in Memphis, but he's really excelling and has been getting some great moments with this team. So we're going to pull up this advanced stat here that I found on Twitter. I do not remember the Twitter account that did give us this. I will link it down below in the comment section, so I want to give them credit, but they did a deep dive on Xavier Tillman's offensive dashboard since he's been with the Boston Celtics. Now, this play chart only includes the time he's been with our squad. So we want to look at the left-hand side. We can look at that pie chart. In transition, 6.3%. Pick and ball roll man, he is a 6.2%. Post up, 25%. Cutting, 25%. And spot up at 38% point-by-play type. You guys can see on the right-hand side, he is fantastic in transition in the cut. A little bit worse in the post-up and spot-up, but that is what we expect from a guy like Xavier Tillman. His box stats in the last 5 games, he's averaged 15 minutes for the Celtics squad, 4.8 points, 3.4 rebounds with 0.8 assists, on 72% shooting from the field, 30% shooting from 3 with 0.4 blocks and a 0.4 steal. If we want to look at his true shooting as well, once he came in with the Celtics, it's been fluctuating, going up and down, of course, hitting a little bit of a low there on December 16th over there and when he was for Memphis, but it has clearly gone up since he's been with this Celtics squad and has been a solid contender for this Celtics team. Now, I'm very ecstatic to see that we have Xavier Tillman in Boston. I liked him at Michigan State. I think he's a great defender. And like I said, let me know what you guys think about Xavier Tillman in the comment section down below. But I truly think that if he can get his offensive game down to a speed that the Celtics really want him to be, he could be a key contributor for this squad. And we've seen him get some run in the last couple of games. We want to look at this ESPN screenshot. These are the last 5 games he's played in. He obviously had his first stint versus Chicago where he got a little bit of minutes. In Dallas, we saw him get his first, kind of role minutes, scored 6 points, looked solid versus some of those bigs that they had out there. Then versus Golden State, obviously we knew it was a blowout game. Xavier Tillman got in for the second half, looked like a nice energy piece for the Celtics. We saw him versus Denver, try to guard Nikola Jokic. We used him on a slower big. Didn't really necessarily work out for this Celtics squad, but versus Utah, where he got his most experience, his most time to shine last game, 27 minutes, 60% from the field, 100% from 3, 1 assist, and 7 total points with a steal. And he looked phenomenal in this Utah Jazz game. Like I said, I think he can be another version of Al Horford for this Celtics squad if he truly can knock down that three-pointer and get, comfortable with it. And we've already seen that in practice with him being able to attempt multiple three-pointers and hit them, but he's been doing it in game as well now. We just saw, like I mentioned, he had 100% from 3, 1 for 1 in the last game. And I believe he's hit 2 threes with this Celtics squad already, with only missing, I believe, 1. Therefore, he's, finding a little bit more comfortability, and it's becoming part of his game for this Celtics squad. Now, like I mentioned, the Celtics do have his bird rights, and they can keep him up long-term because he is a unrestricted free agent. So I do believe that Brad Stevens got a steal here because Xavier Tillman can be a guy where the Celtics using test type prototype situations, using him here and there, and then if he actually fits and can gel and work with this squad like we've already seen, they're going to be able to keep him long term. It's not going to affect their salary cap. It's not going to affect their tax level, anything like that. They'll be able to keep Xavier Tillman on a long-term extension and kind of have him be that Al Horford replacement, like I mentioned. Al Horford's getting up in age. We've seen him sitting on back-to-backs, and I totally think that he can be the perfect role model for Xavier Tillman. They've already started to bond. They already have similar play styles, similar bodies as well. So truly, I really think that they can, Al Horford can, be this veteran leader already with this squad. I truly think he can be that with Xavier Tillman, kind of mentoring him through the offseason. And we all know Al Horford's going to be back with this Celtics squad next year. So even if he, learns some stuff through the summer and through the offseason, maybe Xavier Tillman can, kind of rise and take over for Al Horford. And Al Horford can transition into that bench, helping out role where Xavier Tillman's starting to be a little bit of a riser for this Celtics squad. Like I mentioned, he got some big-time minutes versus the Utah Jazz. He played very, very solid on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. We also got to see him with Luke Kornet, which we had not seen, and they did fantastic. We broke that down on our last video, so if you want to check that out, they played 8 minutes together, had a perfect plus-minus, and sparked a 20-0 run in that fourth quarter on the defensive side of the ball. And I really like how they work together. I truly think that we can use both of these guys in the playoffs. I think that Brad Stevens and Joe Mazzulla have a plethora of guys to use for this squad with a bunch of versatility, having a bunch of tall, lankier guys with Porzingis and Luke Kornet, a bunch of, bigger and slower guys like Al Horford and Xavier Tillman. Even having Oshae Brissett as that energy rebounder guy kind of comes in an instance if we need some life, if we're, showing out like we're playing a little lazy, throw Oshae Brissett in there. Let him, drive to the rack. Let him get a couple offensive rebounds. Spark some energy for this squad. And truly, I think that's why we can succeed. I really like what this bench has done. I really like what Xavier Tillman has done for our squad. And tonight, with us taking on the Phoenix Suns and already having Kristaps Porzingis ruled out, we'll get to see how Xavier Tillman will look for this Celtics squad, getting some extended minutes with this team. I think he'll be getting some, and I truly think that we're going to see him shine in green. Like I mentioned, let me know what you guys think about Xavier Tillman down below in the comments. He's been one of the most intriguing players that has come since the trade deadline, and I truly think he has a knack for the ball, knack on defensively. He's got to work his offensive game a little bit, but if he gets that, finishing around the rim, if he can knock those 3-pointers down consistently at a higher clip as well, if he takes 2 or 3 and can hit them at 2 or 3 at a time, shooting 100%, we have a steal. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Celtics Digest here, where we broke down this fantastic Xavier Tillman news. Like I mentioned, if you guys enjoy the content like this, make sure to check out our other videos at the top here and tune into the live stream tonight, where we'll be breaking down our post-game reactions. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Celtics Digest, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.